Hi there, future teacher. Do you need to pass the MTTC 090 Language Arts Elementary exam? If so, you've come to the right place. In this video, we're going to do a deep dive into Subarea 3, Skills and Processes, which makes up 36% of your exam. That's roughly 36 out of 100 questions. This subarea covers reading strategies, vocabulary instruction, the writing process, research skills, media literacy, and student self-assessment. We're active listeners, right? So grab your pen and paper and let's get started. Before we dive in, we put together a free study guide workbook that goes along with this video. It has all the key terms, comparison tables, practice questions, and space for your own notes. Grab your free copy from the link in the description. This video is proudly presented by TeacherPreps.com, where we offer a complete test prep program for the MTTC Language Arts Elementary exam, including study guides, full-length practice tests, and vocabulary exercises. Our program is self-paced and free to start, so when you're ready, simply click the link in the description or visit us at TeacherPreps.com. All right, that was our plug. For the rest of this video, it's go time. Grab your pen and paper. Let's begin. Let's start by understanding the exam format. The MTTC 090 Language Arts Elementary exam has 100 multiple-choice questions, and you'll have 2 hours and 30 minutes of testing time. Before your testing window begins, there's a 15-minute tutorial to get familiar with the computer-based testing interface. Now let's break down the timing. If you divide 150 minutes by 100 questions, that gives you exactly 90 seconds per question, or 1.5 minutes each. The exam covers 3 subareas. Subarea 1, Meaning and Communication, is worth 28%. Subarea 2, Literature, Genre, and Craft, is worth 36%. And Subarea 3, Skills and Processes, which is what we're covering today, is also worth 36%. The best way to build pacing instinct is by taking time practice tests. At TeacherPreps.com, our practice exams simulate the real test-taking experience. Now let's zoom into Subarea 3, Skills and Processes. This subarea has 5 objectives. Objective 10 covers reading strategies, including techniques for determining word meaning and enhancing reading comprehension. Objective 11 covers inquiry and research processes, from formulating questions to evaluating sources and presenting conclusions. Objective 12 is all about the writing process, from brainstorming and pre-writing all the way through editing, revising, and publication. Objective 13 covers mass media production skills, including the characteristics of different media forms and the skills needed to create media. And Objective 14 covers student goal setting, reflection, metacognition, and self-assessment at different developmental levels. Let's start with Objective 10. Objective 10 is about strategies for determining word meaning and reading comprehension. Let's start with 3 essential reading techniques: skimming, scanning, and varying reading rate. Skimming means quickly moving your eyes over an entire text to get the gist. You're not reading every word. You're picking up the main idea and overall structure. Think of it as flying over a landscape from an airplane. You see the big picture, but not every detail. A student might skim a chapter before reading it to preview the headings, bold words, and illustrations. Scanning is different. Scanning means searching rapidly for one specific piece of information. You're looking for a keyword, a date, or a name. It's like using the search function on a computer. Your eyes jump across the text looking for that one thing you need. A student might scan an index to find a specific topic. Then there's varying reading rate, which means adjusting your speed based on purpose and difficulty. You slow down for dense informational text, technical vocabulary, or complex sentences. You speed up for familiar, easy narrative text. Fluent readers shift between these techniques automatically, but struggling readers need explicit instruction in when and how to use each one. Now let's talk about word identification and fix-up strategies. These are the tools students use when they encounter an unfamiliar word. First, phonemic awareness. This is the ability to hear, identify, and manipulate individual sounds, called phonemes, in spoken words. Notice that phonemic awareness is entirely auditory. It does not involve printed text. A teacher might ask, "What's the first sound in the word cat?" And the student says the K sound. That's phonemic awareness. Next, phonics. Phonics is the systematic relationship between letters and sounds. Where phonemic awareness is about hearing sounds, phonics is about connecting sounds to print. When a student sounds out the word BAT by blending each letter sound, that's phonics in action. Picture clues involve using illustrations alongside text to infer meaning. If a student doesn't know the word tadpole, but there's an illustration of a small creature in a pond next to a frog, the picture helps. Context clues involve using the surrounding words and sentences to figure out an unknown word. There are several types. Definition clues, where the text defines the word directly. Synonym clues, where a similar word appears nearby. Antonym clues, where an opposite word provides contrast. And example clues, where specific instances help you infer the meaning. Structural clues, also called morphemic analysis, involve breaking a word into meaningful parts. If a student encounters the word unbreakable, they can break it apart. Un means not. Break is the root word, and able means can be done. So unbreakable means not able to be broken. Finally, sight words are high-frequency words that students learn to recognize instantly. Words like the, said, was, and because appear so often that students memorize them by shape. The Dolch list and Fry list are two common references for sight words. When comprehension breaks down, students need fix-up strategies. Rereading the passage, reading ahead for more context, sounding out the word, looking at word parts, or asking for help. Let's talk about strategies for learning vocabulary. Direct instruction is the most explicit approach. The teacher selects important words before, during, and after reading, provides student-friendly definitions, uses the word in multiple contexts, and has students practice using it in their own sentences. Word study approaches include word walls, vocabulary journals, semantic maps, which are graphic organizers showing how words relate to each other, word sorts, where students categorize words by meaning or structure, and the Freire model, a four-square graphic organizer with definition, characteristics, examples, and non-examples. The Freire model is particularly powerful because it forces students to think about what a word means and what it does not mean. Morphemic analysis teaches students to use prefixes, suffixes, and root words to unlock the meaning of unfamiliar words. Knowing that the prefix re means again helps students decode dozens of words. Rewrite, reread, rebuild, rethink, reconsider. Now here's an important concept: tiered vocabulary. Tier 1 words are basic everyday words most students already know, like happy, run, and dog. Tier 2 words are high-utility academic words that appear across subjects, like analyze, compare, investigate, and perspective. Tier 3 words are domain-specific technical terms, like photosynthesis or denominator. Effective vocabulary instruction focuses on Tier 2 words because they have the highest impact on comprehension across all content areas. And finally, wide reading. Students who read extensively encounter thousands more words than students who don't. Independent reading is the most powerful long-term vocabulary builder. Now let's cover reading comprehension strategies. Comprehension is the whole point of reading, constructing meaning from text. The first strategy is activating prior knowledge, also called schema activation. Before reading, a teacher helps students connect what they already know to the new topic. A popular tool for this is the KWL chart. K stands for what I know, W stands for what I want to learn, and L stands for what I learned, which is filled in after reading. The second strategy is making predictions. Students use text features, prior knowledge, and context to guess what will happen next. Predictions keep readers engaged because they create a purpose for continued reading. Will my prediction be confirmed or not? The third strategy is generating questions. When readers ask themselves questions before, during, and after reading, it deepens their engagement and helps them identify important ideas versus minor details. The fourth strategy is self-monitoring, also called metacognitive monitoring. This means readers constantly check whether they understand what they're reading. When comprehension breaks down, they use a fix-up strategy. And the fifth strategy is rereading. Going back to reread a confusing passage is one of the simplest and most effective strategies. Let me also teach you about reciprocal teaching, which is a powerful framework that combines 4 strategies: predicting, questioning, clarifying, and summarizing. In reciprocal teaching, students work in small groups and take turns leading the discussion using each of these 4 strategies. This approach is highly effective because students practice the strategies collaboratively before applying them independently. Let's try a practice question on reading strategies. A third-grade teacher notices that several students can decode words fluently but struggle to explain what they just read. Which instructional strategy would be most effective for these students? A. Additional phonics drills focusing on letter-sound relationships. B. Guided practice with comprehension strategies like predicting and questioning. C. Repeated oral reading to increase words correct per minute. D. Flashcard practice with high-frequency sight words. Pause the video and pick your answer. The correct answer is B. Guided practice with comprehension strategies. These students can already decode fluently, so phonics drills and sight word practice won't address the gap. Their problem is comprehension, not decoding. And while repeated oral reading builds fluency, the question says they're already fluent decoders. What they need is explicit instruction in comprehension strategies like predicting, questioning, visualizing, and summarizing so they can construct meaning from the text they're already able to read. Let's move to Objective 11, Inquiry Processes and Research. Good research starts with a good question. There's an important distinction between thin questions and thick questions. Thin questions are simple factual questions. Who, what, when, where. They can be answered with a single fact. What year did Michigan become a state? Thick questions require analysis, synthesis, or evaluation. How? Why? What if? Why did Michigan's population grow so rapidly in the early 1900s? That's a thick question, and it makes for much better research. Teaching students to formulate research questions involves narrowing a topic. A student interested in animals narrows to endangered animals, and then narrows further to a specific question. Why are polar bears losing their habitat? One useful technique is the question formulation technique, or QFT. Students brainstorm as many questions as they can about a topic without judging them, then categorize them as open-ended or closed, prioritize the most interesting ones, and plan how to investigate them. The scope of research projects should be developmentally appropriate. First and second graders might investigate a single question with 2 or 3 sources, while fifth and sixth graders can pursue multi-part inquiries with more complex source evaluation. Once students have their question, they need to find and evaluate sources. Print sources include nonfiction books, encyclopedias, magazines, newspapers, atlases, and almanacs. Digital sources include age-appropriate databases, educational websites, online encyclopedias, and multimedia resources. Students can also use people as sources through interviews with experts or community members. Now here's a critical skill: evaluating sources for reliability. One framework is the CRAAP test. C stands for currency. How recent is the information? R stands for relevance. Does it relate to my research question? A stands for authority. Who wrote it? And what are their credentials? The second A stands for accuracy. Is the information supported by evidence? And P stands for purpose. Why was this source created? To inform? To persuade? To sell something? Students also need to understand the difference between primary sources, which are first-hand accounts like diaries, photographs, and original documents, and secondary sources, which are accounts written about primary sources, like textbooks and encyclopedia entries. When comparing sources, students should cross-reference facts across at least 2 sources, note where sources agree and disagree, and consider why they might differ. Different perspectives, different publication dates, or different intended audiences. For online research specifically, students need skills in keyword selection, evaluating website credibility by checking the domain, author, and date, and understanding that not everything online is true. Teachers can scaffold online research by providing curated lists of pre-approved websites, sometimes called pathfinders or web quests. The research process isn't complete until students present their findings. Written formats include research reports, informational essays, brochures, and newsletters. Oral formats include formal presentations, panel discussions, dramatic presentations, and readers' theater. Multimedia formats include slideshows, videos, podcasts, digital stories, and interactive posters. Visual formats include traditional posters, infographics, diagrams, charts, dioramas, and illustrated timelines. The key is matching the format to the purpose and audience. A visual poster works well for sharing with classmates in a gallery walk, while a written report develops formal writing skills. A multimedia presentation lets students practice technology skills alongside communication. Regardless of format, students should organize information logically, select relevant evidence, practice their delivery, and receive feedback from peers and teachers. By the way, if you're finding these practice questions helpful, we have a free full-length practice test for the MTTC 090 Language Arts exam at TeacherPreps.com. It simulates the real testing experience with timed questions and detailed explanations for every answer. Links in the description. Great work covering Sub-Area 3, Skills and Processes. That's 36% of the MTTC 090 Language Arts exam, which means you've made serious progress. But here's the thing. Sub-Area 3 is only part of the picture. You still need Sub-Area 1, Meaning and Communication, worth 28%, which covers language development, communication models, and rhetorical situations. And you need Sub-Area 2, Literature, Genre, and Craft, worth 36%, which covers language structure, children's literature, author's craft, and critical evaluation of texts and media. Without those two sub-areas, you'd be walking into test day missing 64% of the content. The complete study guide covering all three sub-areas, plus full-length timed practice tests, is available right now at TeacherPreps.com. Link in the description.